Over to you, buddy.
Thank you very, very much. It, I think, is an utter relief that we're all here right now. And I do not mean to offend those of you at home, please, because this is a hybrid event, and I'll be talking a little bit about why that's important today. But I just want to take a moment, actually, of my time, first and foremost, to congratulate you and you and you and everyone sitting here. Because the last 18 months, 20 months, that's right, have been difficult. They've been challenging, they've been full of problems, they've been a little bit messed up. But you're here, right? You survived that. That's why I want to take a moment to say thank you for putting yourself through everything, for not giving up, for participating, harnessing the change around you, and yes, surviving. And that's why we're all here right now, right? The fact that we're all here is proof of that survival. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why virtual events are important, why even now, 20 months after the pandemic has hit, they are not just as important, but an amazing opportunity that you have to thrive and not just survive. But I think what I would like to do before I get into that is take a look at the past, right? Because I think that before we can really analyze the future and talk about what that's going to be like, we really need to understand where we came from very clearly. So let's look back. There's a nice, smiling, happy Dutch startup company. In 2019, where were we in 2019, folks? Well, for us, we were attending live events. With our mobile app, we were there to help people connect, network. We were doing badge printing. Yay! We were hanging out at the office, working with our colleagues, right? Beers on Fridays, woo! I think if you came to us at that time and you said, guys, just so you know, there's going to be a global pandemic, okay? And we've been talking about this a bit for a while in the scientific community, but this is going to hit hard. It's going to start in one part of the area of the world, but it's going to go all over the globe. We would have been like, yeah, okay, whatever, it's interesting, although we probably should have listened. If you had come to us back then and had said, no, but seriously, this pandemic is going to shut down everything, okay? You're not going to be able to have dinner. You're not going to be going to your friends' houses. You're not going to be going to restaurants. You're not going to be having events. We would have been like, okay, really stop talking about that. You're scaring us a little bit. I don't know about you, but has anyone in this room or online watched Black Mirror? I don't, because it's a bit too real for me. And so I think if you came to me back in 2019 and you told me all this about a pandemic shutting down life, I would have been like, that's a bit too Black Mirror for me, please. Let's not talk about that. But if you had come to me and to us in 2019 and you had said there's going to be a global pandemic, it's going to affect the entire world, everything will be shut down, and the event industry would survive at all in any facet, I would not believe you. And yet here we are. You are all here because you are still going, because you want to learn something, because you want to take something away, because what you do for your job, it matters to you. And you're here to find out what's next. If we're looking at the past, I think we should identify something. That what we've gone through with the pandemic and the loss that we've suffered has affected all of us. And I actually think that it's some of the hardships and the darkest parts of the COVID pandemic that unite us all together. It's a bit of a shared experience, right? It's like a little bit of a shared trauma that we can, and I think honestly should, all connect over. Speaking a little bit on behalf of Let's Get Digital here, in February 2020, that month and calendar year that I don't think anybody wants to talk about anymore, the phone rang. Hey, this is Event Insight at the time. Oh, hi, this is one of your clients and we're going to cancel your event with you. because we don't think it's going to happen. That was a little bit scary back then. And after that, of course, the phone rang again and rang again. And then it wouldn't stop ringing for us. The phone was ringing red hot, people. All clients canceling their business with us. I think what I'm talking about maybe isn't the story of everyone, but it's a common story. To experience a great loss as a result of the pandemic, especially in events. I mean, come on. But we did not do nothing about that. When we had our closeness taken away, when we had our security taken away, when we had our community taken away, we reacted from the pandemic, right? And so did we. Actually, what we did once all of our business was canceled and we thought, we better do something or it is over for this happy Dutch startup. We spent 21 days isolated in a farmhouse with each other, with our spouses, our children, our pets, food, and some beer. And we quarantined. And we worked for 21 days straight as a company to find a way for people to experience events the way that they are used to, but online. Of course, we were able to do that, and we're glad that we did something. And I think actually everybody here, you did something in reaction to the pandemic, right? Maybe it was stop operations for a little bit, maybe it was pivot, maybe start completely over from nothing, but you did something. You survived that. And I think that's really important to put a pin in before I start talking about the future, that we have done a lot to still be here. In fact, a lot of people have done a lot to still be here. Everyone did. Everyone moved their activities online as a result of the pandemic. Think about not just events. Think about like the dinner parties you used to have, the friend hangouts. Has anyone here attended an event on Zoom that they probably would not have attended on Zoom before the pandemic? My aunts celebrated 41 years of marriage with a vow renewal on Zoom. And like maybe that sounds kind of funny, but actually it was really beautiful. It was not nothing. It was very, very important to do that. And as event organizers, as people in the events industry, what did we do, right? We went online. Let's bring those industry gatherings online. Let's do our general meeting, our annual meeting online. Let's create the experience we want online, right? Let's all do it together. And I think that's been really great. In fact, COVID gave us all an opportunity to try this out. For people with almost no experience before, to people that have done online and hybrid events before the pandemic, everyone was now doing things online, right? That's actually why I would refer to COVID as the great equalizer. Yeah? And if you're from a generation older than the TikTok generation, you should know what that is. And if you don't know what that is, we can talk after the session, okay? But what does this mean? Okay. It means that we were all kind of put on a similar playing field, right? Bring your events online, make it happen, gather your communities, bring those experiences together. Awesome. We all did that. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I mean, if we didn't do that, I think we wouldn't be at ETL right now. What would happen to the event industry, right? That was our survival. What's something that we learned about bringing our events online? We learned actually that 3 things that we really, really care about when we organize events are the same, even when online. You need to make sure that you try, at least, to get your audience inspired. Someone really wise told me recently, Patty, you can't just inspire people. You just gotta like say stuff, and if they get inspired, that's on them. But we still care about creating that opportunity. We want people to learn something at our event, right? Why are you listening to me right now? I better teach you something. If I don't think I did a very good job. And it's the same thing with this event. We put a content schedule together so that you can take things away, right? And of course, networking. Thank you, Conduco. Shout out for making the networking pretty easy at this event. But these 3 things, they have mattered. with our events online. It's like very similar, again, to in-person events, but there's something that I've noticed. I've noticed that we all come online with our events. We are all in a similar playing field. We all bring our experiences to the digital space that we maybe have never done online before. And we survived the pandemic. But if you're focusing on these three things still, I would say that you're still surviving. And that's great. Survival is really, really important. But it's not the same thing as thriving. What's the difference between survival and thriving? Survival is doing what you need to do to keep going, to live. And thriving is utilizing the resources around you to excel at excelling. Why am I talking about this? Because I would like to propose that, again, by focusing on the same things we always have, by the pandemic being the great equalizer and everybody coming online, we have so many different events happening online, but they all start to kind of seem similar, I think. I think experiences start to blend together a little bit. And I would propose that instead, right now, in this moment, 18 to 20 months after the onset of the pandemic, there is a very good opportunity. The opportunity is to focus hard on virtual events, to do more than this, to leave survival mode, okay? And to focus instead on thriving. And the way that I would propose we do that is to create remarkable virtual events. I have some ideas on how that could come together that I'll share with you in a little bit. But I kind of get a sense from people at this event, maybe from some of you, or I don't know about you online. But I think that there's been a pretty big push to in-person, right? What's the phrase that like everybody's used? People are itching. That's kind of a weird image, but we're itching to get back to in-person events, and I completely get that. Completely get that. Why focus on virtual? When you have a skill set, when you have a network, you have connections, you have an experience, you've done your event in person, so you know how you want it to be. Why would you give that up and focus on virtual instead? Or in addition, or put more effort into virtual than in person? Well, I think that there are a lot of reasons for that. In fact, we have learned so much from doing events online, right? We've learned that our local, regional, community event has an international audience, actually. Or at the very least, outside of your own region. We figured out, hey, you know what's a lot easier than setting up a venue properly? Logging onto a platform, picking your colors, the event logo, setting up the navigation. It's work, but I think it's a little bit less, and it can be done from your house. Virtual events also are huge on saving environmental impact, right? You don't have flights. You don't have the energy use of a venue, for example. In fact, we care about that point so much that yesterday, our company drove 11 and a half hours in an electric car from Groningen, Netherlands, to this event, because we did not want to contribute to the CO2 impact from air travel. And I think that's something that should be preserved. Oh yeah, and one more thing. What are two factors of an in-person event that, if they aren't nailed, will completely overshadow the rest of the experience? Food and a stable Wi-Fi connection. And guess what? When those two things are in your attendee's own house, if they don't like their own dinner, well, it's not your fault. And if their Wi-Fi is not that good because they're not paying for a premium package, that's also not on you. You can focus on your content. I think the speaker before me said content is king. You can focus on the experience that you want to create, the feeling, okay, that you want people to have at your event. And actually, I think that these things that we learned are important. I think they should be preserved. I think they should be continued. They've shown us new things about our events, right? But I kind of get the feeling like I'm not really convincing you, to be honest. So how about this? Let's take a look at some figures, okay? That's an action figure, okay? That's a figure skater. Yeah. And this is the current value of the virtual events market in 2021. 114 billion US dollars. Sorry, I'm American. I don't know about other currencies or how that works. But that's actually not that impressive, because according to Grandview Research, it's going to compound and grow about 24% per year. So by 2028, we're looking at 504 billion in value in the virtual events market. And that's billion with a B, folks, not an M. So what am I trying to say? I guess my point is that we have a lot of things that are valuable from virtual events. We've seen a lot of advantages that we did not see when we had those events in person. Oh, and by the way, there's a lot of financial benefit, and we maybe want to think about getting our share of that and taking advantage of it as companies that need to make money. So in order to go from survival to thriving, I just have one simple suggestion. Be remarkable. That's it. It's pretty easy, right? How is it that you're remarkable? What does that even mean? I think it really honestly just means that we need to think about our virtual events in a deeper way. We need to enter the perspective of our attendee. We need to consider that the experience that they have at our event should not just be about the three things that I had mentioned earlier. They should be about more than that. These three things, actually, there's my B. These three things right here, they're great. They're really important. Okay? We need to have these. They're necessary. Dare I say they're a baseline requirement. And might I actually use an even stronger term? They are the bare minimum for your virtual event. Being remarkable is about doing more than that. It's about creating something memorable that people will take with them after the event, that will cause them to have a memory, that causes them to hold on to their experience that they had online with you for 5 years, at least. Now, I'm really sorry to tell you that I'm not here to give you answers on how to be remarkable. So, that's my talk. Just kidding. Instead, I have some suggestions. I have things that I've noticed, okay, about what does it mean to be remarkable? What does it mean to create a memorable online experience? So, for me, what I've noticed is that it's a lot about creating an event feeling online. I think it also has to do with a highly personalized experience. I've noticed that has a profound impact on whether or not I'm going to remember my experience at your online event for years to come. I think it's very important that we surprise people online. Let's do something unexpected, something that you need to be there to experience, because actually, remarkable virtual events, they take advantage of real time. You need to be there. That something happened, that there's a feeling of an event, that there's something personal, that you have to be present to experience in that moment. And if you're not, you get a fear of missing out. FOMO, as I like to call it. I think that those factors actually do make something quite remarkable. That's just what I've noticed. So let's talk about those for a moment. What is the event feeling, okay? The event feeling is basically that your online event should feel like an event. Seems pretty simple, pretty basic, but actually, my experience on online events has not always been this. Sometimes it feels a little bit like a webinar. Sometimes it feels a little bit like a website. Sometimes it feels a little bit like a social media page. And I think that it's not that those things are bad. Those experiences are equally valid, but if you're trying to have an online event, you should consider whether or not your event feels like that. Should you do something that reminds people of the in-person event? Should you give someone something in your virtual event that makes them go to their dinner table after and say, oh my gosh, I attended this really cool event today online? For us, we give you a badge when you attend our online event, and we hold the door open for you when you go into a session. And it seems to me that those are really remarkable and memorable things that people don't really expect in an online event. But let's talk about making it personal. Everybody loves to feel valued, right? you should feel important. You should feel like your presence at an event adds something and that it is important. You shouldn't feel like a number, and let's be honest, in virtual events, it's really, really hard to feel like you're breaking through. So maybe you should focus on something like having a dynamic speaker that gives an opportunity for people online to create something together with a tangible outcome in a workshop. Perhaps you give someone, like I said, a personal badge when they come to your online event. Do something to make someone feel like they are specifically welcome at your event, and they're not just another person in the online crowd. Let's talk about doing things in an unexpected way. Right, when I think about events that I've attended that are exceptionally memorable for me, a big factor is that there's something that happened that I did not expect that causes me then to leave and say, oh my God, Bill, you would not believe the pyrotechnics at this event. For a finance conference, I really didn't expect pyrotechnics, but here we are. For us, we start our keynotes at our events often with an earthquake online. And to me, I think that if you would like for people to experience your virtual event and remember it, you need to surprise them. And there are a lot of ways to do that. In fact, the way that you should do that for your event actually should come from you. Your event is about your organization. It's about your outcome. It's about how you do things your way. And so, let's be honest, virtual events have a lot of possibilities. They've grown a lot. There's a lot of technology out there, and there's quite a lot that you can utilize. But the key is you need to make sure that they feel surprised. That they feel like, oh, I'm glad I was here. Because if I wasn't there, I would have missed out. And in fact, the concept of real time applies to each of these three things. And I'm going to go back for a moment. If something feels like an event, it means that it happens, it has a start and end time, and then it's over. That's real time. If it's personal for me to enter and be greeted in a personal way, that happens in the moment. And if I create something unexpected, a surprising opportunity in my online event, someone needs to be there to experience it. And if they're not there, they do not experience it. Real time is very, very important. And again, what do we want to do? We want to be remarkable. We want to be memorable. And I want you to think with me for a moment. What was the most remarkable business event that you ever attended? To be honest with you, it probably had something to do with these three things. But I'm actually willing to bet that that experience that you had stuck with you because of something on this list. And for me, with all of the things that we've learned about growing our reach, saving environmental impact, bringing communities together from home, and yes, taking advantage of that growing market, we have a call, and I'd like to call out to all of you. Do not put virtual events away like an old pair of socks that you don't want to wear anymore. Because you survived as a result of virtual events, but now, with the unique opportunity that we have, and some of these characteristics that I've noticed are particularly remarkable, we have the opportunity to leave survival mode and instead to choose to thrive by focusing on factors that make our virtual events remarkable and not forgotten. If you do want to learn a little bit more about what we do to make events remarkable, I'd like to extend an invitation to you to booth 1305. We're just over there. But for Let's Get Digital, if we're talking about feeling, and if we're talking about real time and surprises and remarkable events, I don't think that it really does it justice to speak this to you. Instead, I would like to give you the opportunity to experience remarkable for yourself. In fact, my colleague Emer is here right now, and what she has is some invitations to an event that we're hosting on our platform. We do these almost every single week. And we don't really want to focus on trying to sell you our product, but rather what I would like is for you to attend. for you to experience remarkable, for you to be surprised, for you to see how real time does play a factor. And if you walk away from one of our events with one shred of inspiration, with one idea, then honestly, I'm happy. And that is actually my talk. I got through it pretty quickly. I think that went well, not too bad. And I want to thank you all so much for your attention. Thank you, people online as well.
I think that went incredibly well. Round of applause for Patty. That was highly engaging and entertaining and inspiring and educational.
Oh, thank you.
So
Educational, okay. Right on.
Yeah, I learned something. There's no questions, I don't think, on the platform. Henry?
Wait, my dad's online. He didn't ask me a question? Dad, what the heck, man?
Parents.
That's okay. He probably would have lobbed me a softball, and I don't want that.
Well, I definitely want to make sure everyone gets an invite to the showcase, which I'm definitely going to sign up for as well. But I would ask you that question you asked. What has been the most memorable, incredible, hybrid virtual event you've been on in the last 18 months? And it can be one of your own if you want to plug that, or just one that ticked all the boxes.
Okay, actually, yes, it is going to be one of our own events. I'm very sorry. I would say that actually attending, and it's weird to say attending, but we did a virtual press conference for the Eurovision Song Contest. Have you heard of this?
I've heard of it. Australia are members of somehow competing in Eurovision now. I don't know how.
Canada did before as well, right? It's interesting.
They'll take anyone.
And for some reason, America can't compete, right? What the heck? No, that's okay. We really do not need that. Yeah, I would say we did a collaboration with Eurovision where we helped them build an online press center, I guess, because when they have a in-person song contest, they have quite a lot of like pre-content for journalists from around the world to come. There are press conferences, interviews, a lot of opportunities that they could not do because of the pandemic. But Eurovision still happened, and actually it happened in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and we did get to go. Hey. Awesome. But the online experience was amazing because what they wanted was something highly branded, highly personalized, something that would then give the opportunity for all of these journalists from around the world to attend press conferences, to schedule interviews, and each of the country delegations like had their own booth, and they branded it with all their country colors, and like the theme of their performer, they had their performer actually doing like what's it called, the dress rehearsals, also inside of our platform. So for me, that was like amazing to watch. So
like unprecedented access that you wouldn't have had in a normal.
Yeah, completely, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. All right, well, yeah, please grab an invite off what's your colleague's name?
Emer.
Eber. And that is the last session for the day.
That's right.
I think there's some awards happening on a purple stage. I see alcohol over there. That's awesome.
Yo.
I hope to see some of you tomorrow. We're going to do it all again. But thank you. That was great. Thanks again, mate.